Hi, I'm Tim, welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. And today we are discussing the Omega Speedmaster Professional Moonwatch Apollo XIII 25th Anniversary Limited Edition of 999 pieces. A watch launched in 1995 for the anniversary. It also debuted alongside the celebrated Ron Howard film of the same name. It's a classical moonwatch in terms of its size and stance. 42 millimeters in stainless steel on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. You can see it wears large, and it must have been immense back in 1970 when Apollo 13 flew. Today, it still holds its own as a full-sized men's sports complication. The thickness of the watch, largely due to the Hesselite crystal over the dial, is a robust but not overwhelming 14.6 millimeters, and if you measure it lug to lug, the case itself is 48 millimeters across the wrist. If you include the solid end links of the bracelet, it's a more robust 53.1 millimeters across the wrist, and the spacing between the links, if you want to throw it on an astronaut style Velcro textile strap, that spacing is 20 millimeters for your aftermarket strap accessories. The bracelet is a fascinating piece because it's a little bit of a window into how Omega did things during the 1990s, fitting both the Seamaster Diver 300 meter and the Speedmaster Professional with a bracelet that was equal parts dress watch and sports watch bracelet. You can see the oval cross section, the polished outers, the polished intermediates in a sliver-like line down the center give this bracelet a little bit of a dress watch elegance about it, while the fairly large individual links give it more of a sporting demeanor. You can see how Omega did things in the 90s. Pin sleeves for the bracelet. It does make it a bit more difficult to size. You'll need a punch and a block, but pin sleeves are reliable and they stay put. You'll also appreciate that there's some adjustability built into the clasp. So if you have a conventional strap tool, you can move to either of the two anchoring points to make fine adjustments. And the clasp is a very thick construction. There's a lot of metal here, meaning it feels redoubtable and almost vault-like compared to the tinsel-like stamped oyster clasps that Rolex was shipping in 1995. You can see that the Omega Marquee Speedmaster Professional, the logo, all remain sharp and deep, so this one has been minimally refinished. Now the timepiece features a classical case. Those who are familiar with Omega watches since the 1960s will recognize that this case came about in the mid-1960s with the lyre-style lugs, so they turn inward on their inward faces and then outward externally. There is that expanding bevel that's polished at the ends and thins out at the mid-case with a slender longitudinal satin finish, and that on both sides. Of course, the professional-style case featuring an asymmetrical design that has a little bit of a shear guard for the pump-style pushers and the crown. This was something NASA requested specifically after testing and received in 1965. The underside of the tachometer is polished, and you can see on the top the tachometer is anodized black aluminum. It's used in conjunction with the chronograph to gauge the speed of objects moving, well, quite quickly given the calibration of 500 to 60. A standing mile start-stop, a standing kilometer start-stop. That's exactly what the tachometer is for. Now the dial sits underneath a bubble-like Hesselite crystal. Why a Hesselite crystal? Why thermoplastic? Why not sapphire? Because this watch is still issued by NASA. It was in 1970, it was in 1995, and it is today. And that thermoplastic can scratch, it can crack, but very rarely will it shatter and create a debris hazard in zero gravity, which is why you still have a plexiglass crystal on the Moonwatches. The dial has faded to a lush and lovely ecru coloration. This cream coloration is real tritium patina, not photina. You can see the dial signed T, as the Moonwatches did not move over to Luminova until the end of 1997. You have that wonderful tritium fade, and then you also have a clean dial with scarcely any marks, fading, oxidation, or coloration. Other than the indices, nothing has changed. It still looks factory. So this is a borderline vintage watch, now 24 years old, and yet it is in the same condition broadly as it was when it left BOBN back in 1995. Let's get a little bit closer, and you can see that this dial has an extra splash of color, as you have the official mission patch logo of the Apollo 13 mission. You'll also note at 9 o'clock the motto of the mission in Latin, as it was first and foremost focused on scientific measurement and research on the lunar surface. Of course, Apollo 13, a near disaster that became a rousing testament to the spirit and skill of the astronauts and their NASA controllers. Immortalized in film and in this limited edition of 999 pieces. You can see it features the standard Moonwatch script on the back, as well as an Apollo XIII dedication, and underneath the case back, the manual wind caliber 861 based on the Lamagna 1873 Bausch. That is still in the 1861 form used on space flights today by NASA in this very model. 17 joules back then with a copper coloration, manual wind, 48-hour power reserve, a cam lateral clutch chronograph with a 21,600 vibration per hour beat rate, and back in 1995 it was water resistant to 50 meters. You can see and you can own this lovely tritium fade Apollo XIII 25th anniversary limited edition on the watch box.